All right, I got top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get started. First off, welcome. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for attending here. This is our first conference call leading into the coming tax season. So, kind of exciting. Whenever it starts to cool off and starting to feel like fall's transitioning a little bit here in Indiana, that's when we kind of get into the tax season mode, and we are there. We've got Halloween coming up here this week, so happy almost Halloween. But as we are approaching the preseason, as I like to call this period, there are some things that I want to make sure that we address and that we get at the forefront of your guys' minds, particularly as new federal direct partner offices. So as we're going through this call, this is a call that's definitely focused towards you guys. We will be having additional conference calls as we get closer to the start of the season and officially into that preseason mode. But really, most of the topics that we're going to cover on here today are targeted towards you guys being newer federal direct partners and perhaps even newer entrants into the tax preparation industry as a whole. So, first off, I do have a few things to cover as far as three things that you should be doing or be aware of now. So even though we are just wrapping up October, the preseason starts off fairly slowly, and by the time we get to the holidays and beyond, we are at a full-out sprint when we finally actually hit the tax season. So now, when you have a little bit of time to breathe, a little bit of capacity in your workday, is when we can actually take care of some of these important items. So, starting off, first and foremost, things to do now. Number one, this would be your EFIN application or your enrollment with IRS e-services. So most of you are already involved in this and have already initiated that process now. But the EFIN application, and EFIN first off is short for your electronic filer identification number. This is really your identifying number for all of the tax returns that are going to be submitted through your office to the IRS. This is a requirement that you have an EFIN number. The process for this, it is all originated and processed through the IRS e-services system. It is an online application process. They do a background check on you, the office owner, to see if there are any previous criminal charges or issues in your past that would make you a poor candidate for warehousing a ton of taxpayer sensitive data. So bear that in mind. There is a fingerprint card that goes along with that application. We talk with all of our new partners one-on-one regarding enrollment and the registration and application here for the EFIN. Leah Beatty is the one who really spearheads that here in our office. So if you have not yet gotten to talk to Leah, I urge you to give us a call, 866-357-2052. That is something that we will jump at when it comes to assisting you in that process. There is a time horizon for getting your EFIN number once that application and fingerprint card have been submitted. Typically, you're looking at 45 days on the short side. So as you can see, as we're closing out October, if you have not done that yet, you should definitely be jumping on that here immediately. And again, we are more than happy to hold your hand through that process. We can do a screen share to make sure that you're checking the right boxes and answering the questions appropriately. But EFIN application should be the number one priority if you have not done that yet. The application process for that EFIN has several different elements to it. You have to create your e-services account. I get a lot of questions out there asking, is there a credit check or how does that work? Well, they do use the credit system. However, it is not to determine your credit score and use that as a determining factor. It is simply to validate your identity. So the IRS is going to use information available in the crediting database to really prove that you are who you say you are. Once you have gone through that process, you then get access to IRS e-services. That is where you can then complete your application and then lastly, submit that application. We will send you out physical fingerprint cards to be completed at your local police or sheriff's office. And then those fingerprint cards, once they are done, need to be sent to the IRS so that the background check can be completed. Make sure that you are talking with us during that process, that there is a tracking number that is generated through the IRS and through e-services when you are submitting that application, and it will expedite the process if you can put that tracking number on the back of your fingerprint card. So again, Leah is your main contact here at Federal Direct for that process. If you have any questions, just give us a call again and she'd be happy to help you out. All right, number 2 on the priority list out there is another acronym, and that is your PTIN, your Preparer's Tax Identification Number. So where the EFIN number is for your office as a whole, while you might be the responsible party behind that and the one having the background check done, there is only one EFIN number per tax office. Now, there are PTIN numbers that go along with the individuals that are preparing tax returns. So if you are a one-man or one-woman show and your tax office is preparing taxes this year, you're going to have an EFIN number for the tax office, and you're going to have a PTIN or PTIN number for yourself as the preparer of returns. So the PTINs for the coming they are issued on a calendar year basis, and the PTINs for the coming 2020 calendar year are now available. You can go on to the IRS website, irs.gov. There is a direct link off of their homepage to either renew your PTIN number for next year or apply for a PTIN number if this is your first time preparing tax returns and you don't have one yet. PTINs are a requirement. You need to have those on every tax return that are prepared coming out of your office, just like how an EFIN number would be on there. However, the PTIN number is going to specifically describe who is the preparer on record for that tax return. So you as the tax office owner would need to get a PTIN number. As well would all of your staff that have a hand in the preparation of tax returns. And then that individual PTIN number would be listed out on the returns on an individual basis regarding who is the actual preparer of record. Those PTIN numbers are free this year. However, there has been some new action taken in Congress where they have authorized the charging of a fee for these PTINs. So do not be surprised if this is the last year when PTIN numbers are at no cost. In the past, there have been fees up to $64 annually for a PTIN number, and I imagine that we will be seeing fees somewhere in the $25 to that $64 range coming back into play in future years. But lucky year, this year, there are no fees associated with it. I've had a lot of folks asking, hey, I need to prepare a return now. Well, that's perfectly fine. If that is the case, you can go in and you can apply for a 2019 PTIN number as well. Again, that is at no cost either, so it really doesn't have any negative impact if you need to get that. But bear in mind, you want to make sure that you are getting a 2020 PTIN for the coming year as well, because these PTINs expire annually. The EFIN number that we talked about before is yours for the duration of your activity in the tax preparation industry. As long as you are using that EFIN number and filing a tax return through that at least once every 2 years, that EFIN will continue on in perpetuity, and you do not need to renew it annually. You do want to maintain your access to your eServices account so you can monitor that for numbers of returns being submitted through your office and for monitoring of fraud type of purposes. But the EFIN number, once you get it, it is yours, and it will continue on throughout the future tax seasons. The P10, or Preparer's Tax Identification Number, is an annual number. You keep the same number, but you do have to renew it proactively on the IRS's website every year. Usually the P10s become available for renewal sometime around mid-October. That happened just here last week for this coming year. So feel free to jump in there. That is at irs.gov, and there is a direct link off of their homepage there. The third item of importance that I want to make sure that you guys have on your radar is actually an interaction with us here at Federal Direct, and that is regarding the training and installation of your tax software. So currently, the 2020 tax software is not out and available. However, most of our partnerships are going to come with prior year software access. And that's important that not only for getting the tax software onto your system so that you can do practice returns and familiarize yourself with the program, but as well during that install process, the initial installation process, our IT team will be installing security software on your system. That is a corporate level Symantec product that is really looking to increase your office security. You will notice that now that you are in the tax preparation industry, you are now a target. If you are out there running a convenience store or selling donuts or a restaurant or whatever it might be, you are certainly still vulnerable to cyber attacks and malicious actors out there looking to hijack your network, gain access, and pirate sensitive information. But you are not in those industries, at least not working with us now. You are actually in the tax industry. And this is a financial services industry. This is an industry where you are the gatekeeper and repository for an entire and a large amount of secure personal private information. Social security numbers, dates of birth, addresses, phone numbers, you name it. There's really not many more target rich and ripe industries out there better suited for hackers to target than the tax industry. So it's an important part of the installation process. So I urge you, don't delay on getting that done. While we will need to touch your system again once the 2020 software becomes available, this is an important part and does need to be completed prior to your training sessions here with Federal Direct. So install and training is kind of the number 3 item of importance that I have on there. The install will be done by our IT team, where they will physically, like I said, install some antivirus and security programs on your system. They will do a security scan of your system to try to identify if you've already been exposed or you have some vulnerabilities that need to be addressed prior to getting taxpayer information onto that network. So that's definitely a important topic to keep in mind. And once you are installed as well, that's when we can do the training on the software. So most of you guys have been through that process. Once you get signed up with us, that's kind of one of the first steps as far as getting the wheel turning. And that is a one-on-one training session on the tax software, and also a walkthrough of the resources that are available to you on the Federal Direct Partner Portal. One of the overwhelming points of emphasis that you will hear me bringing up throughout all of these preseason conference calls as we lead up to January 2020 is going to be the utilization of your partner portal at federaldirecttax.com. That partner portal is a repository for all things, all resources that we have available for you and at your disposal to use during the tax season, and even more so now as you lead up to the tax season. Your practice returns are going to be in there, so if you need to do some mock scenarios, they're great. All of your continuing education access is in there. We have a lot of new offices that will use the AFSP program. That is the annual federal tax refresher course program as a training tool for their new employees. That's available in there as well. If you have additional users that we need to get set up in that system, don't hesitate, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you get them loaded in there. You can track their progress, but even more so, the ERO resources that are in there are really a valuable tool when it comes to the administration of your office, the day-to-day operations, and a whole lot of different tools when it comes to marketing your business, running your business, and operating smoothly, not just preseason, but throughout the season and after as well. So do not hesitate if you have any questions on your partner portal or how do you access that area. Feel free to give us a call. We're definitely here to help guide you through those steps. All right, next thing I want to touch on are some upcoming important dates. And the first one that I have indicated on here is going to be November the 15th. And that is an approximate date, but basically come the middle of November, that is when the IRS turns off their electronic filing for the season in preparation of updating their systems to accept the next year's tax returns. So here in about another 2 to 3 weeks, the IRS will stop accepting electronic tax returns, and they will not start accepting those returns again until they turn on for the tax season in January of 2020. So if you have any last minute returns that you want to get electronically filed and you want to get them out the door, you want to get them accepted, maybe you have your own returns out there that you want to make sure get on record for being filed. That could be a hindrance to getting that EFIN number that I was talking about before. You do want to be current on your tax filing obligations. Now is the time to get those e-files submitted in. So again, that's going to turn off here mid-November, and then it will turn back on in mid-January once they announce the start of the tax season. Once they turn that back on, they will first start accepting the current year's returns. So we're talking about 2019 tax filings that are going to be starting here in January of 2020. And once that system is tested and it is working smoothly, they will also turn on 2018 and 2017 tax returns to be submitted electronically. So it is the IRS's intent to always accept 3 years worth of individual returns, that being the current year and then the prior 2 years as well. Any tax returns that need to be submitted that are older than that will have to be submitted via paper filing. As well, any amended returns that are filed are only acceptable in a paper filed format as well. So bear that in mind as we reach up to that cutoff date. Sometimes the IRS will give us a nice lead time into when that's going to happen. Other times they might give us a 48-hour window. There's not a lot of tax filing activities going on here in mid-November, but once we get that information, we will get a mass email out to you guys to let you know. Now, the other item I've got in here of importance is going to be, we get a lot of questions on when does the next year's software or the coming year's program become available. Typically, you are looking at the first week of December. So we are a little over a month out on that becoming available. But once that does come out, that's when we're going to start contacting you guys proactively to do some scheduling for those of you that are on the desktop software. And even for those of you on the online software, we like to get in there and update some of your shortcuts and your directional links so that you have quick access to the current years and the archive programs as well. But roughly the first week of December is when that becomes available. It's important to know that once that tax software is released in the first week of December, that really is a raw shell of the tax program as it is going to look and feel and operate once we actually get to January of 2020, or once we get closer to the start of the tax season. And the reason being for that is that the IRS updates their forms, their schedules, their schemas that they are willing to accept electronically, and so on every year. And for instance, this year, they are making a change again to the federal 1040 form. They are going back to a 2-page form instead of the form, the postcard style of form that they were trying to get with in just last year. So the initial package that comes out first week of December gets updates applied to it automatically as those forms and different modules are approved by both the federal IRS, Department of Treasury, and also the different state departments of revenue around the country, and then as well as the bank product providers come out with their final forms and their final applications. Those will also be automatically uploaded into your tax software. You can certainly jump in, you can play around, you can do some practice returns in the new system. Once that new system does come out, like I said, roughly the first week of December, that's when we get in there and we start to go to work on generating the new year's practice returns. So currently, if you've already gone through a training system with us and you've done some practice returns, you're most likely operating in the 2018 tax software and using those 2018 practice returns and answer keys. Well, we have to go in, we update those for the current season or for the coming season once that software becomes available. So once that is out, we will start that process, and then you will notice that the practice returns start getting uploaded into your partner portal for the updated coming season as well. Let's talk a little bit about what the start of the filing season is going to look like. There is no published date yet. However, last year it was on January 29th, and this year the rumor is that it's going to be on January the 21st. We participate in the IRS's hub testing program, and what that is simply a 7 to 10 day window of when the IRS will accept returns from us early or prior to that official start date of the tax season. Excellent opportunity for you to be able to get tax returns submitted in earlier or ahead of a lot of the competition that are out there. But bear that in mind that with that hub testing window in there, if we are looking at an official start date of January 21st for the tax season, you are probably looking more so around January the 10th through 14th for when the actual hub testing will start, for when you can, and that means you can actually send returns to the IRS, get acceptances and rejections for those returns. Don't forget again about the PATH Act delays when it comes to refunds that have earned income credit or the refundable portion of child tax credit on there. That means that any of those returns that have those elements attached to them, their refunds cannot legally be released until the end of February. So we do have some exciting bank product advances that are available again this season that allow your clients to get those refunds a little bit quicker if they are in that boat. I'll talk about that in just a second. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that we do have several training webinars coming up here on the horizon, one of which is going to be hosted on the 31st here on Halloween Day, and that is going to be your marketing program. That is where Tina and I will be on the webinar, kind of going through some of the most common marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns that our partners have been using. We're going to touch on the EDDM program. We're going to talk about the different signage that are available for you, how to go about ordering those, and the feather flags and digital marketing pieces. We're going to touch on some Family Dollar and Dollar General site advertisements and some options there to advertise on the back of their register receipts. And we can target the Dollar Generals and Family Dollars that are specifically in your area. As well, there are some interesting mailing campaigns where you can go after and target people who have recently moved into your zip code. So that's called a new mover or recent mover campaign as well. That again is going to be hosted at 2 p.m. this Thursday. We will record that just like we do all of our training webinars and like this conference call. And if you're not able to attend the live delivery of that, we will make that available in your partner portal in an archive recording roughly 24 hours after the live session was held. So if you are interested in looking at some of the marketing options and campaigns that we can assist you with, I urge you to attend that webinar on Thursday, this coming Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I want to touch on just a little bit on the bank products that are available this year. We will be hosting a bank product only type of webinar where we really get into the nitty-gritty and the detail on these. But we've got some offices that do all bank products. We've got some offices that don't do any of them. And then most offices end up somewhere in between. But bank products are a great tool to allow you to collect your preparation fees out of your client's refund check. The bank products as well allow you to offer advances on your client's refunds. So I mentioned earlier that refunds that have any type of element on there relating to the earned income credit or the refundable child tax credit are going to be delayed due to the PATH Act, and their refunds won't be issued until the end of February. Well, how you can combat that is that the bank will allow you to do an advance of up to $6,000 to your client once the return has been submitted. There are going to be two different start dates associated with this. Most of you guys, the start date out there will be the start of hub testing. So again, that is roughly 7 to 10 days prior to the official start of the tax season. That is when the tax return is able to be submitted, and the IRS will confirm that the taxpayer and everybody on the tax return, the information matches up and a return has not already been filed on their behalf. At that point, you can apply for an up to $6,000 advance of your client's refund, and you can then print a check for that client on your system out of your tax software, or you can have that put onto a prepaid debit card if your client prefers. That again would be starting roughly 7 to 10 days prior to the official start of the tax season. There is a even earlier start date that is the first week of January. They haven't nailed down exactly what day they're going to do it for this year. Last year it was January the 4th. This year they have been floating the date of January the 2nd. But what that is for offices that have participated in offering bank products in prior years. They get an extra roughly 8-day early window for offering those advances. So if you are a returning office or a returning EFIN that has prior bank product activity and history on there where the bank can verify that, they will allow you to offer those roughly a week or a little bit more than a week early. The negative about that, or I guess the one gotcha on that early season advance, is that the tax return has to be submitted. So it basically has to be a completed tax return that's ready to be filed. Some of the challenges we had last year when they first rolled out this early season advance is that there are very few taxpayers out there that have received their W-2s, their 1099s, and their other tax documents and are ready to file a tax return come the first week of January. Most of those tax documents are released and made available to the general public and employees more so towards the end of January. But again, like I said, excellent marketing opportunity there when it comes to getting money in your client's hands the same day that they file, and that is up to $6,000. Very important that you guys are aware that you cannot get enrolled and registered with the bank. We take care of all that enrollment, those steps for you, but none of that can be started or initiated until you have your EFIN number. So to kind of just tie back into the start of our call, number one priority is making sure that your EFIN application has been started and submitted, and that your fingerprint card has been sent in as well. Until that EFIN number is issued, you do not have the ability to get the ball rolling when it comes to full licensing, enrollment, and registration. So if you have not started that yet, I just want to circle back to letting you know that that certainly is priority one. There will be two different items that we need to facilitate the registration and enrollment for those products, and that is going to be the summary page off of your e-services or EFIN application account at the IRS. You can just print that to PDF and upload that through your compliance uploader in your Federal Direct Partner Portal. And as well, we will need a valid, non-expired picture ID for the office owner. If you have any questions on those, again, Leah Beatty is the one who does the enrollment here. Feel free to just give us a call and ask for Leah. She'd be happy to walk through that with you and identify if there are any gaps in your account here with us as far as any of that material needing to be on file that is not. So again, just kind of a few takeaways before we wrap it up. Make sure you're mindful of your EFIN application process and are getting that taken care of. Definitely make sure that you are familiarizing yourself and using the Federal Direct Partner Portal. That is for not just you, the office owner, but if you have staff that you would like to have restricted access to that on as well, they can be loaded in and set up accordingly also. Want to make sure that you are now aware and you are mindful of being on a heightened security footing. As I mentioned, you are now in the most targeted industry when it comes to data theft and cyber breaches in the country. So be aware of that. Don't take spam and phishing emails lightly. That is a major concern in our industry. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call. We can get our IT staff again to make sure that you're up to date on your antivirus and spyware monitoring programs at that time. We have some upcoming trainings coming up. The marketing webinar is going to be this Thursday at 2 p.m. We also have a webinar this evening at 3 p.m., so starting up here just shortly, covering different credits available on an individual tax return. And then next Thursday, we go into educational benefits also at 3 p.m. You'll find that most of our continuing education or our live continuing education webinars are hosted on Thursday afternoons. You can find those and register for those inside your partner portal on the live webinar schedule. As well, we do send out invitations for those via email on a weekly basis. Looks like we got our next all-office conference call set up here on November the 18th. So you'll be seeing an invitation forthcoming from me for that here in another week or two. So keep an eye out. And we'll wrap it up with just touching on our Thanksgiving holiday office hours, where we will be in the office on Wednesday from 9 until 1. And then we're basically doing a half day that day. And then the office will be closed on the Thanksgiving Thursday and the following Friday right after it as well. If you have any questions, again, our number here is 866-357-2052. I can't stress enough, don't be shy, give us a call. We really are here to help, and we want to make sure, especially with you newer partners, that we are not missing anything, that we're getting all of your questions answered, and we're really getting moving forward in the right direction to have a successful start for this coming tax season. So thank you again for your time today. I've gone a little further than my 30-minute attempt here, so I apologize for that. But everybody have a great day, have a great rest of the week, and don't hesitate to give us a call if we can help with anything. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.